Here's every Bionicle, construction, and character and creature build that was on display at Brickvention 2024 in Melbourne, Australia. So let's take a look at each and every one of them in this video, shall we? Let's start off strong with some insane creations by Jafer. Joss brought his most recent creation along, this dragon fruit inspired dragon with a very striking color scheme. And now that it's back from the Lego house, I was finally able to see Taito in person, and the way that Joss has shaped the face, the owl-like face on this build, it's just magnificent. Dagon the Leviathan was also at the show, and man, the brilliant curves that Jafer has captured and this menacing face with some lovely purple and dark red highlights. What an incredible build. Joss also loves building dragons, and yeah, there were plenty of different dragons that he brought along to the show, as well as many other fantastic builds too. Joss's stuff is always one of my favorites to see at Brickvention. He manages to capture so much life and such realistic designs in everything that he does. It's just really fun to sit and study everything that he's put into these builds. Joss also brought his self-mock to Brickvention, as well as the self-mock of his partner. Both of them look fantastic here. And of course, Jafer debuted his new Spirited Away mock at Brickvention. The sense of motion, the accuracy to the movie, and some of these vibrant colors. This mock is just to die for. I'll definitely be doing a video highlighting all the details of this build very soon, so stay tuned for that. Joss and Andrew's Borok Queens, along with some additional Borok provided by Magmafrost here, they're made for a great little overall display. And then there were plenty of other brilliant pop culture themed characters and creatures to finish off Joss's table. Now, Joss actually drove down from Sydney this year, which allowed him to have heaps of room in his car to bring all sorts of different mocks. I mean, hey, if the convention's close enough, that's a pretty smart idea to be able to transport heaps of stuff to the show. As long as you're careful when you drive over the speed bumps so you don't damage your mocks. So always love Joss's work, but I also really like Donnie Chen's magnificent golden dragon. Of course, I already did a video breaking this down, showing how it was built, going into immense detail about every aspect of this creation, so I'm not going to touch too much on it in this video. But boy, the unique shape and the curves of this beautiful creation, it is mind-blowing and game-changing work. So also on display at the convention was AxiDroid's incredible upper mock from Avatar: The Last Airbender. However, this was brought by Wade Davey, who built it from instructions that are available online. Wade also used instructions to build Grubeluck's wonderful little Calvin and Hobbes mock here. It's nice to see them using some snot techniques to get these plates for the eyes. It's a great way to make them both accurate but also really cute. Now, on the subject of mocks that were built by another person and displayed by a completely different person, Wes Talbot's insane dragon head was on display here. I'm not too sure who built this one. There wasn't a mock card saying who brought it. Might have been Wade, but I'm not too sure. Still, the colors and the texture of this are just stunning. And there are actually a few other versions of this dragon head on display, but this time the heads were built by a different person in some different colors. It is nice to see them in different colors representing, the different elemental types that these dragons could be corresponding to. But actually, let's take a quick look at some of the details on this dragon head. It's amazing how much Wes packed in so much detail here using different types of slopes or curved slopes or even some of these Nexonite tile pieces. He's used just about every possible piece that resembles dragon scales, and the delicate balance of putting them all together like this, it just works perfectly. A couple fun Disney display pieces now. Looking at these, it's a real testament to how many pearl gold pieces exist these days. In the past, it would have been a lot harder to pull off the level of detail and, to capture the accuracy that's shown here. These builds are really cool. Moving over to a longtime friend, Sadie, she brought this awesome Pahatu G2 revamp. This looks incredible. The leg design here using these Nairo Ghost Blaster pieces to create a lovely mechanical piston design. I just adore that. I'll for sure be talking about this mock in a different video a little bit later down the line, but I do have to say, this base that Pahatu is standing on, it slaps. And this little beast companion that Pahatu has with them also slaps. Sadie nailed this revamp. Some of Sadie's other mocks include this cute little friend with some wavy hands, and I believe these pieces here that make up the eyes and the head, they're actually Scala Sync pieces. Might be wrong. Either way, it's a genius design. Oh, and one of Sadie's best mocks, this adorable dog on this little floating machine. I love the expression on their face. They're so indifferent. They're sick and tired of everything and they just want to be fishing. So expressive and so cool. Plus these rubber band wires in the middle of this machine here. There's just so much to love about this mock. Then we got a fun fishing character. Very nicely designed overalls on this build. I like this one here with this cool gold leg design, very much taking advantage of the wonderful curvature of those claw pieces. Then we got some lovely underwater landscape here on a build that was built for the Mari collab that came out last year, one of my favorites. Always a pleasure to see sand green on MOCs, and it's even better to see adorable little pilots inside. It's always fun when AFOLs put little cute animals or cute creatures inside these menacing huge mechs. It's a very fun contrast. And then another great mech here, this one has some minty fresh pops of color, and then some really nice black plants on the landscape below. And hey, there's always time for crabs, especially cool crabs like this that use Bionicle canister lids for shells. And then of course here is Sadie's social media and some other cute doggos to go along with it. Incredible stuff. Additionally, my friend Timothy brought along this highly detailed tree being that's saving some animals from a forest fire. Tim is a master of character design and he builds some of the best fantasy creatures ever. There's such a lovely charm to this build, and it's great to see all these different animals scattered all over this vignette. Tim also brought this Minecraft music box along, and it actually moved and it did also play music. Now, it looks super accurate to the game and it looks super pretty, but take a look at the inner workings here. It's always cool to get a bit of a peek behind the curtain, which is something you have the privilege of being able to do at a LEGO convention like this. Now, I'm obviously showing you a mix of system and Bionicle builds in this video. There weren't many builds that only used Bionicle parts or were only specifically building Bionicle characters, so as a result, I want this video to be a showcase of all things construction, constructible action figures, as well as all things mecha, all things character and creature based. That's what we're highlighting in this video today. Because there is plenty to get inspired by, whether it's super Bionicle heavy or super system heavy, anything can give you that little spark of inspiration to spur you into building something else. And a LEGO convention is the perfect place to get inspired. Got an interesting pair of Sonic and Tails up next. We're getting more and more LEGO Sonic sets these days. I wonder if we'll see a LEGO set that looks somewhat similar to these MOCs here. LEGO Master Miller brought a few cool Bionicle creations this year. This is a very system-heavy Rakshi MOC that I think captures the essence of a Bionicle Rakshi perfectly. And all these translucent blades for spikes on the back. How cool does that look? Plus, when we look at an original LEGO Rakshi set, and then we take a look at this system-focused head design, they've done a great job at translating that piece, purely using system pieces. It's very pleasing, isn't it? Miller's Tahu is also brilliant. These new metallic silver pieces blend quite nicely with the classic silver Nuva shoulders there. It's great to see him blending Bionicle and system pieces so flawlessly, and it's kind of thanks to that color scheme there. It's also great to see a gear on the back here. Now, it doesn't appear to function like it did on the original Bionicle sets, but it being a nice homage to the classic Tahu, that's nice. This display also included an epic little blue mech. I think the head design looks great, but it does also have this nice shield design. Once again, integrating system and Bionicle pieces, we can see this blue Borok shield piece looking awesome partnered up with these other pieces here. Also, some of the armoring on the waist here, I think that's a very nice touch. A lot to love about this. We got some Star Wars construction stuff too, using some custom cloth elements to capture Leia and Luke's looks, very similar to how they appeared in Return of the Jedi. Or Revenge of the Jedi as the MOC card states here, which was Return of the Jedi's early name in early production for the movie. While we're talking about Star Wars construction, here's something a bit more fun and a little bit different. It's a ton of the Star Wars Ultra Build sets riding different LEGO bike related sets. It's a fun idea. Now, some of these bikes are official LEGO sets, like I said, but some of them are also rebrickable models that they've purchased instructions for and then brought along to the show. It's really cool. Now let's keep that Star Wars train rolling with these Star Wars mech suits. These are so well made. Each one depicts a bounty hunter from Star Wars riding a mech that looks an awful lot like them. Bosk's mech is probably my favorite one here. This fantastic menacing head design that mimics that Trandoshan head surprisingly well is using a Chima Speedors piece here. Very clever part use. This IG-88 mech could honestly just pass as a larger scale IG-88 character build. It is a mech much like the other ones, but it's cool that it kind of works either way. But honestly, all of these mechs look super cool. And, actually, I've spoken about some of these mechs before on previous episodes of the Bionicle Inspiration series. And honestly, it's such a delight to see MOCs that you've seen online in person. Especially ones that you think are really, really well made and you've idolized and looked at and spent heaps of time staring at. If you've ever been to a LEGO convention, I think you'll know that magic. It's so special to finally see that MOC in front of you so you can look at it up close and personal and really study its details. If you've not been to a LEGO convention, I recommend you go just so you can experience something like that. On to the next MOC now. It's very rare to see Aquazone MOCs on display at conventions, so it was a pleasure to see so much of it here in the one spot. I love all of these chrome pieces on the front of this vehicle here. Chrome pieces will make any MOC look 1,000 times cooler. But let's talk about this fun crawling vehicle. Look at how they've used all these Bionicle arm connectors and then some trans orange Hero Factory shells to make this leg design. Later waves of Bionicle and later waves of Hero Factory, they used a lot of translucent pieces, so the choice to get some of those Hero Factory parts and partner them with some of these older trans orange pieces from Aquazone sets. It was a really smart idea. Always good to see System and CCBS combining together like this. We've also got a large brick-built Angel, and then we've also got a bust of the Phantom, the very first superhero. Got a lovely little Pinocchio build now. Some very blocky system pieces here, but honestly, I think that was the best medium to build this in. These rectangular arms, for example, they look like a wooden toy would look. It's nice to see Lego bricks complementing the puppet, real boy story behind Pinocchio. That's cool. Roken also brought along all sorts of other anime character builds and other interesting and unique displays. It's always nice to see so much variety on display at one person's table. Now over to even more system character builds. This time, they're from Doctor Who. So each of these are using the frame scene on the Harry and Hermione buildable figure set that came out a few years ago. You know what, I guess that's the sign of a very successful LEGO set, isn't it? When fans take the idea of the set or the sort of frame of the build and then make countless MOCs based off of it. If a set inspired so much creativity like this, I guess it's safe to say it was a successful set. Now for a little delightful build that was on display at the show, and this was an absolute banger. It's from the hit Australian TV show, Bluey. There's so much life to this build. Look at the eyes, the nose, the snout, the eyebrows. It captures everything so perfectly. Also, the movement of this cricket ball, hitting the ground and then flying up to then be hit by the cricket bat. I love that. This is a brilliant MOC. We've got another dog build this time, and the textures on this are great. They've captured dog fur very, very well. Plus these dog ears and the pose of the dog and the fact that it's terrorizing this small city. Everything's wonderful. Aisha Bricks had a lot of different monster creations which were meant to be different takes on Star Wars vehicles. The different mechanical segments on this snake I think look awesome, and this huge dinosaur-like walker with an army of snowtroopers inside. It's huge and it's imposing, and hey, it's always good to see massive builds like this on display at a show. Now, this dark blue Godzilla head here, it's a little bit smaller, but it's meant to be a lot bigger this time next year, because this is going to be a part of a much larger Godzilla build that is supposed to move and walk, and have all sorts of different motorized functions to it. I mean, it sounds exciting, I'm keen to see it. Now for a very creepy, but still very accurate brick-built Gollum MOC from Lord of the Rings. Using the circular windscreen piece and a few different sized dish pieces, that's a great way to capture his eyes, especially at this scale. Very creepy, but very cool. Magma Frost is up next, and they brought a ton of awesome builds. Each one is so expressive and so well made. Oh, but it is worth mentioning, some of the builds, these ones here specifically, were inspired by Ted Anders, and were also inspired by Lego Horm. It was great to see them at the show though, these are such adorable little builds, even if they weren't directly built by Magma himself. Oh, also Magma Frost has been getting into making their own custom masks. Here's some of them here. I think they look great. The cool glitter coloration on them is very pretty. Now, they brought a bunch of these brilliant black and white character builds. I love this one up the back here that's using these 2x2 trans clear round tiles so that it looks like they're wearing glasses. It's such a simple but very effective design. Now, a lot of these builds were displayed very close to each other, which made some of the close-up photos a little bit harder to take. So be sure to check out Magma Frost's Flickr and Instagram. There'll be links in the description below and you can see way more detailed photos there. Now, these smaller brick-built figures, I think they're all amazing. The cute little addition of a black sausage piece on the top of their hair so that it looks like a strand of hair is poking out. That's so clever, and it's such a clever part use. Oh, but this crab is easily one of my favorites from the show. The boat hull and then the cool like barnacles and different coral pieces on top. It's so striking. There's plenty of great part usages here too as well. There's a couple of these different Ben 10 construction headpieces. The way that they've been placed here, they just stop looking like that original piece and just immediately start looking like coral. They've just been so well integrated. It is such a clever part use. Very well done. They had many more great builds all over the table, each one just as expressive as the last. But this one is packed full of so many great techniques. The curvature of what they're sitting on, the unique hair design that used some of these curved wedge slopes, makes for a great little fringe design there. And even the fact that the nose is this little small pyramid piece in tan, plus they've captured human anatomy so well. What a great display piece. Everything about this is so well made. And then they had a couple more Bionicle MOCs over on a separate table. These included the only Galador MOC that was present at Brickvention this year, but they also had 2 other MOCs, and I love how they look. This one using Boga the Varactyl's head from a classic Revenge of the Sith Star Wars set. Very, very cool. And then the glasses on this one here and the cool hair design. That's just rock, but as cool as both of these look. This beetle is very fun. The transition between this blue Huna and this Nuva shoulder, the way those pieces flow off into each other. How nice does that look? Magma Frost really brought their A-game this year. So many good MOCs. Now for all of you frog fans out there, this creation has some wonderful little terrariums with frogs chilling on some plants. The lighting here really sells this MOC for me. It certainly makes it feel like something you would see at a zoo. There's also a few little terrariums for some lizards, and then a big one here with a big spider web and some spiders as well. It's a fun little creation. We can also see some more exotic animals on Kale Frost's diorama here. This is a fun way to establish scale on this build. When you look at the landscape and the animals on top of it, you realize that the minifigures are actually tiny little creatures living in a much larger world. It's a fun idea. I do quite like this snail though. The way that they're staring at this carrot like they're just entranced by it, that's very funny. Also, these lime blades of grass in the background using these invasion from below spikes. What a clever part use. So yeah, all these creatures are awesome, but seeing these Jurassic Park dinosaurs with saddles on their back and then minifigures riding them, that's awesome. It's a nice way to use dinosaurs outside of the context of Jurassic Park. We've got some more expressive builds now from Alice in Wonderland. This tree design is great, and it's an even better way to build this invisible cat that's sitting on that tree. Very clever. But the expressions on the characters around the table here, they're amazing. It's such a delight to see character builds with so much personality. Very much a job well done here. Bit of a different build here. We've got some MOCs based off of some VHS boxes. And the builds, of course, are designed to look like the movies that came inside that VHS box. So we can see all sorts of different builds from different movies, including one from The Mask of Light. They've used the gift with purchase Tahu here and built a nice little vignette around them. Although, if we're accurate to the movie, that should be Tahu Nuva, not Tahu Mata, but I'm being picky now. It's a cool idea. Now over to Jack Frost and his incredible Bionicle MOCs. I love this new orange build using some of the shoulder pieces that came on the awesome Exoforce set Uplink, both on the torso and on the head. Amazing. These trans blue claws, they don't appear to be official pieces, but they certainly look cool on the MOC. Jack's iconic Lava Beast returns now, and every time I look at this, I love it more and more. This stone sword that looks like the weapon that a final boss in a video game would have, and this imposing stature and silhouette on this MOC, everything about this is insanely cool. Jack's cat robot returns and always looks great, but this time they've got a little mini companion to go along with them. I believe Magma Frost built this little mini version here, although I'm not 100% sure on that. Still, using the black alphabet tiles there for that cute facial expression, genius. He's also got a newer build here, which is using a nice X-Pod dish piece for the head design. Lots to love about this build, and honestly, lots to love about all of Jack's builds. Everything he makes is always so clean and so crisp, and it's just a pleasure to be able to see it in person. And finally, this one, well, it's not too much of a stretch. On one of these larger train layouts here, we could see a Galador reference on this custom sticker here. Look, if the sticker says Galador, I'm included in the video. It still counts. So that's every construction MOC, every character and creature build, every mecha that was on display at Brickvention 2024. Hopefully you enjoyed taking a look at all of these different builds. I'll include links in the description below to the social media of as many of the builders that I could find. Not everyone had social media, or were immediately easy to find on social media, but there's plenty of links down below there so you can check out some of their other work with those links. Thank you so much for watching, happy building, and bye for now.